Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Giri Varadari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Giri Varadari Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Giri Varadari Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtadhara Shri Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Ashtadhara Shri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopakavana Shama Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Yamuna Maya Ki Jai Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th Canto, The Science of God, Chapter 5, Prahlāda, the saintly son of Hiranyakashipu, text number 2. Tau, please repeat after me. Ragya Prapitam Balam Prahlādam Naya Kovidam Patayam Asatuhu Patyan Anyangsh Chasura Balakan Tauragya Prapitam Balam Prahlādam Nayakovidam Patayam Asutu Patyan Anyangshcha Surabalakan Tauragya Prapitam Balam Prahlādam Nayakovidam Patayam Asutu Patyan Anyangshcha Surabalakan Tauragya Prapitam Balam Prahlādam nayakovidam Patayam asutu patyan Anyangscha surabalikan Tell those two, Sunda and Amarka, Ragya by the king, Prapitam sent, Balam the boy, Prahlādam named Prahlāda, Nayakovidam who was aware of moral principles, Patayam Asutuhu instructed, Patyan, books of material knowledge. Anyan, other. Cha, also. Asura Balakan, sons of the Asuras. Translation in purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada purports. Prahlāda Maharaj was already educated in devotional life. But when his father sent him to those two sons of Shukracharya to be educated, they accepted him at their school along with the other sons of the Asuras. Text 3. Tatra guruna proktam shushave nupapatacha nasadu manasa mene saprasad garashrayam. Prahlāda certainly heard and recited the topics of politics and economics taught by the teachers, but he understood that political philosophy involves considering someone a friend, someone else an enemy, and thus he did not like it. Purport. Politics involves accepting one group of men as enemies and another group as friends. Everything in politics is based on this philosophy, and the entire world, especially at the present, is engrossed in it. The public is concerned with friendly countries and friendly groups, or enemy countries and enemy groups. But as stated in Bhagavad Gita, a learned person does not make distinctions between enemies and friends. Devotees, especially, do not create friends and enemies. A devotee sees that every living being is part and parcel of Krishna, mamaivāṁśo jīva-bhūtaḥ. Therefore, a devotee treats friends and enemies equally by trying to educate them both in Krishna consciousness. Of course, atheistic men do not follow the instructions of pure devotees, but instead consider a devotee their enemy. A devotee, however, never creates a situation of friendship and enmity. Although Prahlāda Maharaj was obliged to hear the instructions of Sunda and Amarka, he did not like the philosophy of friends and enemies, which forms the basis of politics. He was not interested in this philosophy. Om Gyanatibadandasya Garanchana Shalakaya Chakshulanamadatamnena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Makam Karitvachalam Pangam Langayate Girin Yakripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurundinitaranam Bhanja Kopadu Bishta Kripa Sindhubevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gauda Bhakti Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We are seeing in these verses how Prahlāda Maharaj was sent to, say, demoniac school, in which they taught him, or they were trying to teach him, all types of, you could say, principles to operate under a good asuric life or a demoniac life. And as Prabhupada explains in the purport, political philosophy, politics, economics, and how in politics the basis of it is that, okay, there's one group that is good, one group that's bad, or you could say enemies and friends. So what does it mean to be an enemy? What does it mean when someone is one's enemy? Enemy, okay, it means actively opposed. So they're actively opposed, trying to, you could say, they're actively opposed or hostile to a particular group, someone, or something. Or you could say they are eager to prevent, eager to destroy. That's the idea behind an enemy. But it's an interesting concept, friends and enemies, because practically speaking, what's the difference? The difference is just on some behavior. The difference is how people are behaving with each other. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, there was one in his life, there was one particular man who had a tendency to criticize him, find fault in him, criticize him. And his disciples were very disgusted with this person. They didn't like this person, the person who was criticizing their guru, which you could say is a natural emotion. And one day, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur heard that this man died. And then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, to everyone's surprise, he was lamenting. He was saying, oh no, this person died. Because all the other devotees, they were quite relieved, that this person's gone and now he's not criticizing our guru anymore. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was lamenting. And he explained why he was lamenting. He said, well, this person, okay, you were all seeing him as my enemy, but actually he was criticizing me and it was good, and that he was acting as my friend. He was pointing out the faults within me that I need to correct. That was his, you could say, humility. But it was interesting, amazing consciousness of, to say the least, of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, him seen in this way. Now you have the case of Srila Prabhupada and his battle in Juhu, which recently there was a book written about it, the Juhu story, which Srila Prabhupada wanted a book written about it. He said it was a good story, someone should write a book about it. So His Holiness Giraj Swami was there the only devotee there from the beginning to the end. So he wrote a book about it. And in that book, there are many details, you could say, in that Juhu battle, that struggle. Okay, you have Mr. Nair, the person who sold Prabhupada the land, but he was a cheater, and he cheated many people. He cheated a number of people in the past by making it impossible for them to build anything there because he was he had cahoots. Yeah, he was in cahoots with the local government there. He was a powerful person. So anyways, by so many different ways he would cheat people and take their money. So they tried to do the same thing with Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was determined not to let this person succeed because he put the deities there, Radha Rasa Bihari. And they were living in these austere conditions along with the devotees. And at one particular point, okay, Mr. Nair, he arranged so many things to happen there. Like, for example, there was one man who would be outside of the property, and he would be swinging his machete around, and there'd be like public programs happening. It's like, imagine if we had someone outside here, swinging a machete around, and so he would arrange that so people would be kind of not want to go. He arranged that that these, you could say, thugs or gangsters, what do they call them in India? Anyways, they have a particular term. Gundas would come, and there was like one particular man who was there with Mr. Nair. He came to the property one time, and he was saying, "You all have to get out of here, and if you don't get out of here, I'm going to arrange 50 gundas to come, in the nighttime." And then there was Mr. Seti there, who was a Kshatriya warrior type devotee. And then he said to his son, I believe his name was, Gopal. He said, "Okay, Gopal, you get my rifle and you make sure there's 51 bullets there, And he told this person. And then they sat there in the nighttime, waiting for these people to come. And Sridhar Swami, Prabhupada's disciple, he was also there. He was a bit of a warrior type too. He was in the jeep, just resting in the jeep. And he had some type of weapon or something, and he was there. And devotees asked him, "Maharaj, why are you in the jeep?" And he said, "Well, if I need to get away, I could." But he was willing to fight. He was joking. But that night they didn't come. So nothing happened. But there was a whole arrangement that Mr. Nair, he had the government people come, and they started dismantling the temporary temple that they had. And the deities were still there. And then you had devotees. You had this Mataji, she was standing before the deities, and she said, "I'm not letting you move." And they grabbed her. And they grabbed her and dragged her, and they put them all in jail. So you had all of these things going on. And then at one particular point, Srila Prabhupada met with Mr. Nair, and up until a particular point, they were both, you could say, cordial with each other, respectful. But at this particular meeting, the devotees were explaining that Prabhupada they were talking in a room, and then they heard them shouting at each other. Srila Prabhupada and Mr. Nair, they were shouting at each other. And then at one particular point, Prabhupada was saying that we put Krishna there, we put Radha Rasa Bihari there, and we cannot move, this is an offense. And then at one particular point, then you hear Mr. Nair yell at Srila Prabhupada. He said, "Krishna?" He said, "I'll break her, Krishna." He yelled that. And then this whole shouting. So then, he was coming limping at that particular point. He wasn't doing so well health-wise. So anyway, some time had passed, and then Srila Prabhupada was in New Zealand, I believe. And Giriraj Das Brahmachari, he said he was out in the city making life members, and he glanced at the newspaper, and then on the newspaper it said, "Mr. Nair dead." He was the first one to know about it. And then he felt some relief and some happiness, actually. And then he was thinking to himself, is this a good quality? Is this a good emotion? Am I right here? So then he went back to the temple, and he informed the devotees. And all the devotees were happy also. So then he was thinking, is this right? I don't know if this... So then eventually the news came to Srila Prabhupada when he was there in New Zealand. And then Prabhupada told this to this devotee he was with, and once he heard the news that Mr. Nair dead, then Prabhupada, he folded his hands and said, "I was praying to Krishna that he would take care of this demon." It's very interesting. And Prabhupada was also feeling happiness, and he made the point that he was harassing the devotees so much, he was giving so much pain to the devotees. That was Prabhupada's main problem with this person and the deities. He was attacking the devotees and attacking the deities, and that's why Prabhupada was so angry. So you have this difference of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He was lamenting that this person passed away. Who's going to criticize me? Because the attack was on himself. And then you have the case of Srila Prabhupada, who was feeling relief at this person's leaving, and because he was attacking the devotees. So we see that this is the general Vaishnava principle, that one says that, okay, for oneself they could tolerate so many attacks, they could tolerate so many things in relation to themselves. But when the attack is to the devotees, then they act like fire. This is the principle, Vaishnava principle. Virabahu Prabhu, those of you who know him, in Los Angeles, lives there in Los Angeles. Anyways, he said as a general principle, he always seemed to have some problem or not exactly like it when devotees would say, oh, this person's a demon, that person's a demon, 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 demon. And so he had like some issue with that. But then he said that when he heard about the activities of Mr. Nair, he said, okay, he said, that person's a demon. So yeah, the principle is that yes, we're very tolerant in relation to you could say criticism or attacks to ourselves, but when it is against the devotees, then there should be some reaction. We should react. And in material consciousness, it's the opposite, that when somebody attacks us this way or that way, then we fight back. We're defensive. We do whatever we can, right? And then when they attack, you could say, some people who are close to us, then it's not such a big deal. It may not be such a big deal. Of course, anyways. Or as Prabhupada would say, okay, there's the principle of one should be liberal with others and strict with oneself. Not, you could say, strict with others and liberal with oneself. And in relation to this enemy principle, I mean, it's important that we consider ourselves each other's friends. And I know it might sound funny, but like Srila Prabhupada would say that, okay, the Krishna consciousness movement cannot deteriorate from, or it cannot be taken down from external sources, from the outside. It cannot be ruined from the outside, but it can be ruined from the inside. Now, okay, if you don't want to think of the Krishna consciousness as a you could say expansive movement, which it is. If you just think of Krishna consciousness in a more local sense, like Hare Krishna Temple of San Diego, it can rot from the inside. The age of Kali could enter, and their devotees can become each other's enemies. What does it mean to be an enemy again? It means you're not happy when the other person succeeds. You don't like the other person. You don't appreciate them. You're attacking them. It's like you're not on the same team. But we have to remember that we are on the same team. In other words, we should be very happy when somebody distributes more books than us. At least somebody's. I'm such a bad book distributor. I'm glad there's good book distribution. I'm very happy. I was never really successful in it, but I'm very happy that others are. Or whatever it may be, we should be happy that people are advancing in Krishna consciousness, or they are doing better service than us, and we should try to learn from them and serve them and at least appreciate them. Not that there's this envy principle that comes in, like we were discussing last night. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's story. He has a number of stories that he tells. There's a book written about, put together about stories, but about the boy who became a judge, right? High court judge. And this boy was just, just a kind of rascal boy in the local town, right? And then these two men were speaking. They said, "Oh, did you hear such and such? He became a judge, a high court judge?" And he said, "No, that's not possible. How can he become a judge?" No, he became. No, he's not so intelligent, and how can he ever, And they went on like that. No, he's a high. I saw him, And he said, "Okay, fine. He may be a high court judge, but they're probably not paying him. He's doing it for free." So in other words, not really appreciating the person. So yeah, it's a very important principle that we should try to live by, and try to, you could say, encourage each other, which it has its effect. We shouldn't think that what we think doesn't have an effect. It does have an effect. It has an effect on ourselves and has an effect on others and in the environment. Of course, when what we think comes out in our speech, generally. Like there was one very successful leader in the Hare Krishna movement in the past, and he went to a particular location in the world, and everyone was very negative in the temple. Everyone was so negative. And they would be walking around, we could never distribute Prabhupada's books, and we'll never be successful, and the karmis are never going to take books from us, they're not interested, and walking around dragging their feet, and And then he told one devotee, he said, "I'm going to go on a campaign, but we're not going to tell anybody, but I need you two to join me." So they went on a campaign, and they were walking around. It's possible. We're going to do this. We're going to spread Krishna consciousness. We're going to distribute Srila Prabhupada's books. And he was going on a campaign like this. And the devotees, they started to feel themselves, started to become more encouraged by this type of thinking, which turned into activity, and they became, that particular location in the world at the time was the leading place in the world for book distribution for a number of years. Of course, that wasn't everything. There was many other factors that go into making a successful temple in relation to book distribution and other things, but it was an aspect. And Srila Prabhupada, he was not a small thinker, and he was very, you could say, positive in his, or you could say faithful and what he thought is possible. And he would tell devotees, like he was walking on the beach of Los Angeles. It's a holy place now. Prabhupada walked on it, so. And he was encouraging devotees, you should produce this Chaitanya Charitamrita. Well, and how many months did he want it? 2 months? Yeah, 2 months. And they were producing one book every 4 months. And they said, you should produce the whole Chaitanya. It's there, it's ready, you should produce it. And then the devotees, oh, Prabhupada, that, being negative. And some people would say maybe being practical, but Prabhupada didn't accept it. Prabhupada, oh, that's impossible. And Prabhupada stopped, he put his cane down and he said, impossible is a word in a fool's dictionary. You shouldn't think like that. I mean, he didn't say it, but... And then devotees, they started to think about it, and then, like Rameshwar and others, and started thinking about it, and all these ideas started coming in their mind, how it's possible. Because immediately you think it's not possible, then we cut ourselves off, and then it's but okay, it's possible, let's accept that. Like, for example, we have to think it's possible to be Krishna conscious, or else, So they started to think, they have all these thoughts fled through their mind, and then they presented these ideas to Prabhupada. And they said, okay, Srila Prabhupada, it's possible, but we just want to, we need some things, to make it possible. And they said, can you please stay here in Los Angeles so we can consult you? Can we bring all the artists from around the country to Los Angeles? And a number of other things. And they did it. But if everybody's walking around very negative, thinking, oh, I don't like him, he doesn't like me, I'm not appreciating him, he's not appreciating me, and practically we're acting like enemies, can't expect. So again, we should try to develop or cultivate the proper mindset, of course based in Krishna consciousness, and in this way we could say be more successful and not fall into this very bad consciousness. Like Prahlāda Maharaj is, they're trying to train Prahlāda Maharaj up in this very terrible consciousness, friends and enemies and et cetera, et cetera. But of course, we know he doesn't accept any of this, and on the contrary, he converts all of his classmates and so on. So does anyone have any question or comments? Yes.
Guru, for the very nice class, very practical stories from Juhu story and as well as Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, very relatable. I have a practical question. In an ashram which is upcoming, we have newer devotees, how we can actively show appreciation. I like to be systematic, so how we can actively inculcate appreciation in the mood, and these exchanges, because we have the regular morning program and we have our services set for the day. Some devotees are working, so how do we actively bring this mood of appreciation? Do any tips, practical tips?
Well, one thing is that my first thing that came to my mind is you should just follow your guru, Vaisheshika Prabhu. He's a wonderful example for you all to follow in relation to, developing your ashram. And I'm very happy to hear that you're starting a brahmachari ashram in the Bay Area. There hasn't been one there for one, you could say, proper for a number of years, so it's very good news. and I hope it's very successful with a lot of brahmacharis, and very much needed in the Bay Area. So yeah, I mean, in terms of following your spiritual master, he's a very good example. But again, there's a saying. I'm not sure where the saying's from, but the saying is the fish rots from the head. Maybe the fishermen out there know that saying. I'm not sure where it's from, but the fish rots from the head. It means if somebody's, for example, let's say that there is a particular group who holds. Let's say there's a particular group of devotees who hold certain views. You could say not positive views of ISKCON, right? Because there's many groups of devotees all over the world. It's not that we're the only devotees. There's many groups of devotees. So let's say that a group holds a particular viewpoint of the Hare Krishna movement, and that, okay, it cannot give the highest, or Srila Prabhupada didn't really explain the higher truths of Krishna consciousness, which is absolutely wrong, and that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, in that vein, and that therefore we're the real, group, and you should come to us, type of thing. And historically, there has been groups, and we could say maybe even now there are groups who. We could say there are groups who think like that. Now, where does that come from? The followers, having that particular mood. It comes from the leaders who have that mood. Because the saying is, the fish rots from the head. Means what the leaders say and preach and think affects the followers. And therefore, you could say gurus, Vaishnava gurus, and like, for example, devotees would say of Tamal Krishna Goswami's disciples, he would say they are trained very well. Maharaj made it a point to train them very well. How to be expert in their service, how to be conscious, how to be sharp, how to be the whole thing. And one of the examples that they gave is that when other gurus would come in, to their presence, these disciples of Tamal Krishna Goswami were very respectful to them, to the point that they would offer obeisances. Of course, that's a natural thing, but even chanting the other gurus' pranam mantras. It's a very high form of respect. Because as the Chaitanya Charitamrita says, that one should respect the spiritual masters, God brothers, as one respects the spiritual master as a principle. So anyways, there's many details behind how he trained his disciples, but so in terms of an ashram, okay, you have ashrams, and then you could say devotees who are running those ashrams. So the devotees who are running the ashrams, okay, their duty is to make sure everything's clean. It's very important. Make sure everything's clean externally. And their duty is to create an atmosphere, a Krishna conscious atmosphere, based on surrender, based on service, based on preaching. Brahmacharis preach, right? Based on contributing or surrendering their lives. But in order for an ashram to have that, you'd say brahmacharis who are inspired in that way, the leaders themselves within those ashrams have to be surrendered. They have to be Krishna conscious. They have to wake up early. They have to be willing to sacrifice. So it's by example. And that's, after all, what Krishna consciousness is all about. It's all about the charya principle, or teaching by example. So practically, yeah, the leaders of ashrams have to surrender. And therefore, everybody needs training. So somebody trained us, and then we train others. So ultimately, okay, Prabhupada's training his disciples train us, or disciples of his disciples train us. So there's the parampara system. And there's many successful temples to learn from throughout the world. So anyways, that's a few words about it. I don't hope that satisfies you. But you're an intelligent person, so I'm sure you'll figure everything out. Yes, Bajranarayan Swami?
Very good. Hare Krishna. I would just add, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gave the instruction that we should try to serve 10 Vaishnavas a day. So, because you wanted, in addition to that very good philosophical answer, there's also a practical aspect. Try to serve as many devotees as possible. And he gave a quantity, 10. So whether it's save some devotees prasadam or get them a cushion or open the door when they're carrying some, just, open your head, look around, and when you're engaging with devotees, how can you help them? And make a conscious effort every day to serve some devotees. And we have the quantity 10, so you can get a little notebook and you can check each box, or maybe sometimes you do 6, some days you do 12, whatever. But just try to serve the devotees. In addition to it, it's not encounter to, it's in addition to. And that's from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur.
If I could add one little suggestion. There are so many temples in the world now, and there are some that have very successful brahmacharya ashrams. And you might want to, either go to them or at least, write to the leader or the president. What are the principles that are set down, regulations, various things that you could use as a model for, setting up a successful brahmacharya ashram. That's just one suggestion.
Yeah, sorry. You probably weren't satisfied with my answer because I was kind of focusing on a different point because I was giving a more philosophical thing. You're saying practical. So one thing in terms of practical is that, like one devotee, Suvarna Bindu Prabhu, he told me recently in Los Angeles, a very nice brahmachari there, been brahmachari for a number of years. He told me that, you get together with the devotees and you discuss with them, okay, what are your goals, what are your plans, what are your, in Krishna consciousness, your contribution to the temple, to the yatra, and try to facilitate them and try to encourage them. Because, we could discourage people and we could encourage people. So really try to encourage, as much as possible and appreciate. And again, okay, you being a leader of the ashram, they'll see that. And then naturally they'll do that, right? Yeah, so those are some. I like this. Remember when we had that brahmachari camp in Los Angeles? Devavrata Prabhu arranged that and tried to get his brahmacharis from America to come last year. Also in Europe, what they do this book distribution. You probably know about that. They do this book distribution in Singhachalam. The devotees get together, they read the Sankirtan scores, and it's a whole thing. But anyways, be interesting to try to do something that here in Southern California like that. But anyways, when we were doing that brahmachari camp, this devotee, we did a workshop, which some devotees had some issues with and some appreciated it a lot, but it was an interesting idea. But the workshop was, okay, get together in groups of 3, and then you speak with each other and about particular devotees who've inspired you in your life, really encouraged you. And then among all 3 of you, then you decide which devotee you should pick and there was groups of these, devotees doing this. And then at the end, each group, one person from each group would present that story of that devotee. So in this way, it was, you could say, get into the mood of appreciating devotees. And I thought it was an interesting workshop. Anyways, I won't. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it said that when he would glorify the devotees, it was like he had, five mouths. And there's all these like in the Mahaprakash, I think it's a 21-hour, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was displaying his godhood and asking devotees for different benedictions that they wanted. I mean, very amazing. Haridas Thakur, so humble, he was saying, let my benediction be that I take the remnants of Vaishnavas as my occupation, life after life. And anyway, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was glorifying the devotees quite a lot. And so if we do that, then you could develop that particular mood. And of course, it should be sincere glorification, which is, we have to balance all that. Because sometimes you don't want people to feel like it's like constantly glorified. We call that the Mahatma Gandhi principle, because Mahatma Gandhi, he was so famous that when he would walk outside, everyone would say, "Long live Mahatma Gandhi, long live Mahatma Gandhi." And he'd be in his house and people would be outside, chanting that. Yeah, long live Mahatma Gandhi. So I remember there was one devotee, each time he would see me, literally, he would say, my name, and he'd say Ki Jai. He was a brahmachari, so I would see him a lot. and then I would tell him, I appreciate it, Prabhu, but, don't, like this Mahatma Gandhi principle, it's causing me some anxiety, just kind of relax a little bit. So, anyways.
Apropos that story.
Prabhupada said that the poor man couldn't even get any sleep.
Yeah, exactly.
But at a certain point, he said he didn't want to live anymore, and then he was assassinated.
Yeah.
Because it was so, too much.
And he also said that if they got ticked off at him, because the mood of the public is always shifting, they would sometimes say, let Mahatma Gandhi die. So they were kind of, let him die, let him live. He said this way he was never got any peace.
Yeah. Does anybody have any other question?
Hare Krishna.
Okay. Yes, sir.
May I?
Yes.
Yes, Balaram Prabhu, thank you very much. You're most kind and about pronounced. Prabhu, the quote from the purport to the text you chose for today, one of the texts, text 3, goes as follows, quote, a devotee, however, never creates a situation of friendship and enmity, unquote. So based on this quote, my exact question is, how do you explain that the Madhyamadikari, he does neglect or ignore the envious people?
Okay, well, the Madhyamadikari, the middle stage devotee, he gives all of his service love to Krishna, he makes friendship with the devotees, he avoids the envious, and he preaches to the innocent. So that avoiding the envious, it's for their benefit. He doesn't see them as an enemy, but he understands that, okay, by associating with them, we're getting too close to them, then they'll commit more offenses. In other words, they'll dig their hole deeper. So better just avoid them. But interesting enough, that was brought up yesterday by Kota Karnava Prabhu, quoting our previous acharyas, like we should. He said that Jiva Goswami, one of the 6 Goswamis, our acharyas, he says that even though we avoid the envious, we could pray for them. We should pray for them. Because like we were mentioning yesterday, the tendency is, okay, just, avoid the envious, like run away from, get rid of them, right? Just like, and then just move on. But instead of that, we could pray, to Krishna. And the prayers of a Vaishnava are very powerful. You could say, well, I'm not such a powerful Vaishnava. Okay, fine. If we want to accept that, fine. But prayers are powerful, and Krishna will accept them. Like Krishna says to at the pastime of Durvasa Muni and Ambarish Maharaj, that even those that my devotees are dear to me, and even those who are connected to my devotees are very dear to me. Going back. So on that principle, okay, we pray, and it does have an effect. And like Haridas Thakur, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was in the Mahaprakashan, he was explaining to Haridas Thakur, when I saw those people beating you, immediately I came down from Vaikuntha and I had my chakra and I was ready to kill all of them. But because in your mind you were praying for them, their welfare, my chakra became powerless. I couldn't throw it because of your prayers. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed him his back and how he was taking the beatings. So yeah, we could pray for them, but anyways, the basic principle is we don't accept them as an enemy. We just avoid them on a different principle for their benefit. So.
Yes, Balaram Prabhu, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Such a beautiful answer to my question as to be expected. Hare Krishna.
All right, so I just have a few public service announcements. So we have this Pujari meeting at 9:30. Those of you who are Pujaris. 9:30 for sure? Yes. So it's active, right? Yeah, 9:30. And those of you who are Pujaris should attend. Second initiated devotees. It's about increasing the standards or maintaining standards and so on for the pleasure of Sri Sri Radha Giridhari. There's many ways to do that because, as we know, as time goes, standards are forgotten, and so there's a meeting about that. So the pujaris will meet. There's also Zoom. I apologize. I had sometime in the past arranged, or that I've this outreach thing that I have to go to. So I'm sorry that I won't be there. But Amogalila will be there. Okay, very good. I'm used to that. Not completely, but... also, Sukanto, our Bangladeshi friend, who's come to go to school and also aspiring to take initiation from Jayapataka Goswami. He was staying with us for some time. He has officially moved out. And on his way to school, and hopefully he could... anyways, surrender to Krishna via Jayapataka Goswami and contribute to the Hare Krishna movement in different ways. And we like to thank the Bay Area devotees. There's a number of devotees who came. They're leaving this morning. So yeah, thank you all for coming. We hope you had a nice time here. And thank you for going out on book distribution with the devotees, and we hope that your brahmacharya ashram is very successful up there. And also good news.